Good evening. How are you? This is a stand-in talk because we spent the day actually getting in and out of trails in the mountains surrounding us, including one in Bald Mountain. And I'll include some pictures so you get some idea of how spectacular the views are and what it means to have an environment like this and so close to disaster. We're on notice that Trump and his minions, corrupt minions, are going to say whatever comes into their mind. And some of the expert polls out there are saying there are really three issues that we have to concern ourselves with. And contrasting Trump and Kamala Harris is going to be the exercise by which we determine who will win the election. And the three issues are the weather, the war, and an impending dock workers strike if they don't reach an agreement. Well, let's talk a little bit about the weather for starters. Where I am, we're safe. That is to say, there haven't been any outages, roads impassable, deaths as far as I know. But in Asheville and Boone, nearby, it's been disastrous. And the question is, what does a president do in this circumstance? Now, you and I know that what presidents, plural, have not done, not sufficiently, not seriously enough, is to redress the problems that are at issue in which we humans have created a greenhouse gas problem of perhaps unforgivable proportions, and that we may have been past the pivot point, if you will, beyond which there is no return to solve this problem. Okay, but we're not that. The best of us are a can-do nation, and we intend to address this. But the weather didn't happen just yesterday. And because of global warming, what we have is the water being held in the air, the waters rising, creating a ramp for the waters to attack us. And we see it in spades in this recent storm. Helene has educated us once and for all, perhaps, or not at all, just as in the past. It is amazing to me how people could get in government, have these enormous problems, the kinds of things that should challenge a mind that wants to lead, and they fail to do it. Okay? Now, FEMA is addressing this. Biden has talked to the governor of Georgia, where I am, and others to say that he's going to help in any way he can. Trump is saying he's not doing that. He's not talking to Georgia, when he is. So you see the pattern here. Now remember, when Trump was president, he drew a Sharpie to say, see, this is happening instead. He lies even in the moment that he improvises the lie. That is his problem. That is our problem if we should elect him. Now, we can't ignore the fact that Biden, before he was elected president and since he was president, he embraces the science to figure out what to do in difficult situations. Certainly that was his approach in the coronavirus, both before he was elected and when he was elected. He has the same approach when it comes to FEMA and addressing the weather, and we can't ignore that. Now the war, I would argue that Trump helped create the context by which we have an unstable world that is on the brink of war in several different theaters. And so we are trying by diplomacy to satisfy this, but at the same time, because of the situation created by Netanyahu in the Middle East and by Putin against Zelensky in Ukraine, we have some very serious problems here. And we're fighting to have peace, but as we do so, we find that Netanyahu is more interested in war, even as today they put ground troops, as I understand it, in Lebanon. Lebanon is not Hamas. It is not Gaza. It is not within Israel. It is a separate nation state. So what we have is we have one man, Biden, who has a vast store of experience in foreign relations, trying to settle something with actors who seem hell-bent on destroying themselves and their nation. Intolerable and acceptable, but true. Now the third thing is the dock workers strike. There are 45,000 dock workers, and a long time ago when I was a kid, I would shape up at the Brooklyn Navy Yard for the graveyard shift from like midnight to, I don't know if it was 7 or 8 a.m. And you get paid in cash at the end of the day, and I'd get on the subway and drive into town. That is like just a taste of what happens to those who work that way and make their living that way. Now, if there is a strike, is that serious? Yes, because the strike will affect us from Maine to Texas. There's no question about it. And it'll affect us in the East and in the Gulf Coast. Now, as I say this to you, there are encouraging signs that they may be able to settle it, but they haven't yet, so it's something to watch. What do you think? What do you think Trump would do or could do in this situation? Nothing. So by the standards that some of those people out there who consider themselves politically insightful and leaders on the question on weather and war and dock worker strike, they don't have anything to say that is real. Don't you feel sometimes when you hear the commercial for psychics from California and your money back if you don't get satisfaction, that what you're really listening to is an outlet for the Trump machine, that they must believe in psychics too, because they believe in the most terrible and amazing and outrageous things. Even his son is reported at basically calling, I don't know how to explain it and to be polite, with regard to her. I have no compunction about talking about Trump or his child, if you will, who has attacked Kamala and said what his dad will do to her. This is the kind of thing that is, it's not an occasional thing anymore. It happens all the time. And why does it happen? It happens this way because Trump cannot win unless he deceives people, unless he does bad acts, unless he is relentless in this course of action. I happen to think that he doesn't think this will work, but he wants it close enough so that he can argue in the battleground states that, see, they're cheating again when they're not cheating at all. I am hopeful, because we have enough runway between now and the election November 5th, that people understand this. I think that on Tuesday evening when we have Tuesday anyhow, when we have the debate of the vice presidents, the comparison between the two will very easily show that Tim Walz is the kind of person we would want as the vice president, who could be capable to take over if necessary, and who could be a real partner to Kamala Harris in the White House. Look at the team of Trump and J.D. Vance. It's just not us. It's not America. It's not acceptable. So what we have to do is, yes, we have to deal with the outcome of the weather, but this is not a one-day thing. This has been going on for years. This has been going on since I was in college and law school. And people have been asking, why aren't you doing this? You have to do more. And the government isn't doing enough. And it wasn't doing anything under Trump. So we have to, well, do what we do. We, the people, are going to be the guiding force to win this election and to get this America back on track. The track being for things of great promise, taking care of our citizens and adventures that will embolden our nation to do more and to be an example to the rest of the world. So what's happening in the Middle East and what's happening in Ukraine need not happen that way again. But it's going to be a hard fight. The Democrats are prepared to do that. The Republicans are prepared to lie like this is a gambling accident in an alley down the road from Capitol Hill. This is indeed the most important election of our lives, and this historically will determine whether the promise in 1776 has been fulfilled in this still young nation. Nothing short of that. So tomorrow I may be out on the trail, and I'll probably include a couple of pictures so you have some idea of what wonderful things we've seen here. And come another time, or come where we are, near the beginning steps of the Appalachian Trail in Springer Mountain. And otherwise, be well, and we'll talk again tomorrow. Bye-bye.